All right, well, it looks like we have everyone here, so we are going to begin shortly. In a moment, I'm going to introduce Colleen Murphy. She is the Vice President of Enrollment Management and Marketing here, and we'll welcome everyone to today. Colleen, whenever you're ready, if you want to go ahead and get things started over here, that would be wonderful, and we can get things rolling.
Thanks, Glenn. Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the William Peace University Counselor event. First of all, I want to say thank you for the job that you do. I know that it's not an easy one, particularly in these difficult times. So we really do appreciate all the service that you give to students and the assistance you give them in helping choose a college and their home for hopefully 4 years. We do have a specific page on our website. I put the address down at the bottom of our slide. So please visit that often. There is a lot of information there, a lot of information you're going to hear about today, but you can go back and refresh your memory. There's also a way to recommend students that you think would be a good fit for William Peace at this site. So please feel free to visit that often. It's my pleasure now to introduce Dr. Brian Ralph. He's our president and has been here a little over 5 years and has brought with him a great vision for William Peace University. And he's going to talk about that and a few other things. So I will let Brian take over now.
And actually, before Dr. Ralph does here in a moment, I'll go ahead and just say a couple quick things about him as well, too, as we see that he's proudly served as the president of William Peace since 2015, in addition to several other leadership roles. And I'm sure, like many of the counselors here, has several degrees in higher education, like fields, and graduate degrees as well. So, Dr. Ralph, if you want to take it from here, I know we're all looking forward to having you speak with us today.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for attending today. We are excited to welcome you, and I too want to express my thanks for the incredible work that you do. I had the privilege of starting my career in admissions and worked in enrollment management for close to 20 years, and so in many times I had the chance to interact with many of you during my career. As Colleen mentioned, I became president here in the fall of 2015. And prior to that, I served as the Chief Enrollment Officer and Vice President for Enrollment Management at Queen's University in Charlotte for about 12 and a half years. So I'm sure that I crossed paths with you, if not certainly your students in my role there. We have a very bold future here at the university and a vision that I think is really exciting and compelling. But I do think before I jump into that we should talk about the most obvious thing, and that is COVID and how we're dealing with COVID today. In short, I believe that we have navigated this pandemic really pretty well. And there's been a lot of different things that we've put in place to help really facilitate our pivot. We first and foremost went to online in March, just like the rest of the world did. And our faculty did just an extraordinary job of supporting our students in transitioning to online and remote instruction during that period. Then as we moved through the summer, we simply decided to prepare for both fully online and fully in person, not knowing where things were going to head. And very fortunately, we felt very good about our preparation to the point where we were able to start in person. In the chat window, I'm going to go ahead and put our COVID website for any of you that would like to visit that at some point. It kind of updates, it can give you an overview of all the different things that we're doing. In short, we put a lot of different protocols in place, ranging from UV treatment of our HVAC systems to obviously spreading seats out in our classrooms. We don't have large classes anyway, so that was not too difficult to do. We require masks inside and outside on our campus. We installed over 100 hand sanitizers, and more than 50% of our beds are singles this year. But what really I think is the key to our success so far in this transition is that our students, faculty, and staff have been deeply committed to following our protocols. And I'm pleased to share that as of August 1st, we've only had 7 confirmed cases on our campus. All have recovered, which is wonderful, and we don't currently have any active cases of COVID on our campus. But we know that this is a marathon and not a sprint, and so we're remaining vigilant and committed to our current protocols until we believe we can relax them safely. And honestly, I don't think that's going to be any earlier than probably next summer or fall, depending on how things go. So now let me pivot a little bit about our institution. So William Peace University is 163 years old. We were founded in 1857. But we've had a lot of very significant inflection moments in our history. And I think in particular, I'd like to talk about our most recent one. So in 2011, we made 2 very significant decisions. The first was that we decided to start admitting men, and we did so in 2012. And then we also changed our name of the institution from Peace College to William Peace University. So during that time period, a couple important things happened on our campus. First and foremost is that, as you might imagine, we had a number of students, women, who chose the institution when we were a single-sex institution, and when we went co-ed, they chose to leave. And that obviously really hurt our retention and graduation rates during that period. So much so that during the transition, there was several years of transition really before we were fully co-ed. Our retention rates and graduation rates, frankly, were not very good. And our retention rates in particular fell into the low 50s. And I share all of that because we are a fundamentally different institution today. And I'm proud to say that. I know that transition was important and necessary, and now we're becoming a stronger institution as we've come through that transition. So as I mentioned, in 2015, when I arrived, our retention rates were in the mid-50s. I'm pleased to share with you that this fall's retention rate was 74%, and that's in the midst of a pandemic. So I know that a lot of our faculty and staff are working really hard to help our students be successful, but that's also an attribute of the dedication of our students and how hard they're working to be successful here. We used to be an all-female institution and over 85% white females. We're now 52% male, 48% female, and we're approximately 52% Caucasian. Our diversity is such an incredible asset here at the university. And if you have students who are looking to enroll at a place that looks like their future work environment and where they can grow in a diverse community, we are an excellent choice for that. But in short, William Peace University is a very, very different institution than it was 5, 7, and 8 years ago. And we're really starting to see our efforts pay off in a lot of different ways. In addition to the improved retention that I mentioned, 96% of our last 3 graduating classes have been employed and/or in graduate school within 1 year of finishing here at William Peace. That's enrolling at places like Chapel Hill Law, Wake Forest Medical School, the UNC Dental, NC State, American University. I had the honor of this spring being asked to write a letter of recommendation for our then student government body president, Deja Gainey. And she is now attending Johns Hopkins this fall on a full ride because she was also selected as a Rangel Fellow, one of the most competitive Department of State programs. Only 60 students are selected each year. But I want to talk a little bit about where we're headed and maybe help you understand what types of students might be a great fit here at William Peace University. You're going to hear a lot more about our approach to learning and a lot of different things a little bit later in the program. But I want you to know that we combine classroom learning and professional experiences so that every single student has dynamic hands-on opportunities and so that they're ready for whatever's next, whether it's graduate school or work or both. You're going to hear a lot more about that in just a few minutes, about our experiential learning, about our amazing internship program and our career design center. But what you need to know that if you have students who desire an active learning environment and don't want to sit in a large lecture hall or perhaps even behind a screen for much of their 4 years, we're an excellent choice for that student. We immerse students in professional, cultural, academic, and social opportunities here in Raleigh and beyond. And we do that because we want to broaden their worldview and help them be prepared to work in a very diverse world. We have over a 90,000-acre campus, and it's called Raleigh, North Carolina. And our students get an amazing experience on taking in all that the city and this region has to offer. While living right at the north end of the city, they have an opportunity to live in an amazing, diverse, and caring community with having the entire city in front of them. And I like to joke that we even have our own professional hockey team. Lastly, and I think it's important that you need to know that we meet students where they're at and we take them where they want to go. So we really believe in pushing students and challenging them, but also making sure that we provide the right support. We believe it's important that they don't just gain all of the knowledge and experiences during their time here at William Peace University, but they also gain confidence and the ability to think differently and critically. And we're very confident that our structure does that exact thing. Our faculty and staff are truly amazing. They have a passion and an ability to get to know each and every student so that they can push them and support them in ways that are unique to that student. And our graduate school successes that I mentioned earlier are just part of that important work that we get to do. Now, I am really excited about where we're headed as a university, and I'm confident that you have students that would be a great fit here at the university. I have the luxury and pleasure of being the father of 3 daughters, 2 of whom are in college, and my youngest is a senior in high school. So I know that how challenging your jobs are right now, because I'm living it firsthand as a parent and seeing what it looks like to try to do a college search virtually and really have to work through all those types of important dynamics. So please know that first and foremost, thank you for the great work that you're doing and the perseverance that you're demonstrating to support your students. Secondly, please know that we are here to help. However we can help you in your work or support your students to find the right fit, I'm confident by the end of the program today that you're not going to just be impressed by what you learn about our university, but you're also going to have a number of names of students in mind based on what you've learned today. So thank you for committing your valuable time today. We are honored to have you here, and I'll turn things back over to the Office of Admission. Again, thank you very much for your interest in William Peace University.
And thank you so much, Dr. Ralph. We greatly appreciate that. And one thing that I did realize here too, everyone, that I wanted to quickly discuss before we go into a couple of details here is a little bit of agenda for today. So as you just saw, we had Dr. Ralph with that great introduction here, welcoming everyone. And briefly in a moment, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to quickly introduce you to our great admissions staff here. Our admissions counselors do an amazing job. They're hardworking, wonderful, fun, and incredibly knowledgeable, and are really helpful too, and part of the support that we have here that's really unique. So after that, we'll go ahead and have our 3 main panels. The first one will be the Center for Student Success. Then the second one will be Immersive Learning and Career Design, followed by a discussion with 3 current William Peace University students. And if there is time, we're going to try to go ahead and have that at the end of each panel to allow a few minutes from some questions from the audience. And I know the second panel too, especially, will be an interactive one as well. So definitely we'll need some of your input on an activity I know that Jenna and Chris have for panel number 2, which I'm looking forward to. Then after the third panel here, we'll go ahead and wrap things up by going over a couple important details about some changes we've had to our application process to help simplify and make it easier for students to apply. And then we will also go ahead and have an optional Q&A session here with the counselors and 1 or 2 of the students as well. For those that want to stay and ask a few questions, we want to make sure that we're here for you with that. And as you may have seen too as well, I did go ahead and link the high school counselor webpage in the chat box there, and there is some great information there as well too for everyone. So in regards to the wonderful admissions staff we have here, here are a few of their beautiful faces. You'll get to see them here in a second. But of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't quickly also introduce Ashley Murray, who is the Assistant Director of Admissions here as well. So I know, Ashley, if you want to go ahead and quickly introduce yourself, and then why don't we have Bex, Marika, Ansley, and then Ryan. So of course, we're all gentlemen, ladies first with that, and then we will get on to the panels that we have.
Sure. So hi, everyone. As Glenn mentioned, my name is Ashley Murray. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at William Peace. Very excited for you all to learn a little bit more about what makes our school so unique and such a great fit for so many of your students. While I am more than happy to answer any questions that you have, and feel free to contact me at any point, I also do work mostly with our transfer student population.
Thank you, Ashley. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bex Hyman. I work with the Office of Admissions at William Peace University, and I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. This year, I will be working with our mountain territories and then also out of state in our international populations.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. My name is Marika Ivy. I am an admissions counselor here, and I'm also an alum, which is my favorite title. I graduated here in 2016. I currently work with Wake County, Durham, Chapel Hill, and Greensboro, and all of the rural counties that surround those areas. So essentially anybody that's within an hour, hour and a half distance. So in our backyard area would be a territory I work with. I also just really quickly want to say to Dr. Ralph's point, I was being recruited to play volleyball for William Peace back in 2010 when it was Peace College, and I actually was the first co-ed, four-year co-ed class, and I'm really glad that I made the decision to come, even though I was recruited when it was an all-girl institution, because just to see the growth of this university over the past few years has been phenomenal, and I believe in the plan of Peace, where we're at right now and where we're going. So I hope you guys can get a glimpse of that today and really see some students that would be a good fit here. So thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ansley Hicks, and I'm an admissions counselor here at William Peace University, and I mostly serve the eastern coast of North Carolina. And welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan Kilway. I'm an admissions counselor here at William Peace University, and like everyone, I'm so happy you could join us this morning. My territory is all the recruited student athletes. But I, help out if you ever need to send a transcript to anybody. Please feel free to send it to me as well, or any of them, and I'd be happy to help any of your students out. But thank you for joining us this morning. And with that, I'll kick it back over to Glenn.
Thank you so much, Ryan. And yeah, just to reiterate that point as well, too, if for whatever reason, as you have probably gathered, that our counselors here, work typically in some specific territories, but we're willing to and always do help everyone and anyone too. So we'll always here to be that contact and to let all the counselors here know too, all the high school counselors here after the presentation today, we will go ahead and have the specific counselor who works in your area reach out to you personally, with an email with some helpful information, their contact information as well too, to make sure that we can stay in touch. And also too, I would be remiss if I did not give a quick shout out, so to speak, to Miss Vera, who's a wonderful member of the admissions team here as well, and helped gather those care packages that many of you have right now. And if you're like me and you enjoy M&Ms or candy any time of day, I do hope you're enjoying those right now, those beautiful green and white candies that we had for those care packages. And that was a nice little treat for you in many ways. So thank you so much. And thank you to the hardworking counselors here as well for everything that you all do. And we'll go ahead and start with the panels here right now. And our first panel that we will go ahead and have here will be with our, as we call it, CSS, or the Center for Student Success. I'm very excited to have a couple of our pillars of the CSS here, Dawn Dillon, who is the Director of Retention and First Year Experience, as well as Deanna Rogers, who is the Director of Academic Support. And we'll go ahead, Dawn and Deanna, and have each of you briefly introduce yourself, and then we can start with some of the questions for the panel that we have arranged today, and we should hopefully have a few minutes for the audience to ask some questions at the very end as well. All right, and it looks like, yeah, we do have a Dawn and Deanna there. All right, hi, Dawn. Looks like, oh, Dawn, I think maybe, right. Hey, Dawn, how are you doing?
Try again here with the microphone on. Good morning. How are y'all doing? I'm Dawn Dillon. I am the Director of the First Year Experience and Retention here, and I too have the wonderful title of being an alum of Peace. I won't say the year, even though Marika said hers, but I am super excited to be back at my alma mater. I've been here for a little over 20 years and working in lots of different areas, including residence life, campus activities, and many other areas.
And good morning, I'm Deanna Rogers, and I'm the Director of Academic Support here at William Peace. And my area encompasses the peer tutoring area, as well as academic support workshops. And I also teach an academic skills class in fall and spring for students who want to brush up on their college study skills.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And Dawn, why don't we go ahead and start with you here. So can you discuss a little bit about some of the benefits of the FYS 100 course, and maybe just a little bit about what that course is about here too, and how that acts like an extension of our new student orientation and focuses on kind of student success that way? And on a note with that, if there's any specific examples or stories you want to share, well, I'm sure we could do that all day, but if there's any quick ones that you do want to share here, I'm sure we'd love to hear them.
Yes, I'm super excited to talk about our first year seminar course. It is a required 1-credit letter graded course that all of our students take. It's unique in that, as Glenn mentioned, it starts in our fall orientation program. So the students meet as a cohort or as an orientation group during that program, that 4-day program, and then seamlessly move into being a class. So they already know each other by the time classes started. So they've got that nice close-knit community already started right as classes are going. It is an extension of orientation, and it focuses on student success, both academic and social success. And we work on supporting our students by introducing them to the resources, but also making sure they know where they are, how to get there, how to register, how to make an appointment, all of those things. So very practical how you use that. I like to say that the course is all about answering 3 questions and beginning to answer 3 questions. The who am I, the what are my strengths, what am I good at, and then why am I here? What is their purpose? How do they see college fitting in? Why are they making that investment? So that's really what we like to focus on. I had fun kind of reminiscing and thinking on some examples of some successes with FYS. And one of my favorites is Tori Harrell. She came here a few years ago from the Outer Banks and was absolutely homesick. One of the worst cases of homesickness I have seen. Great student, but just really was missing her family and all those things that we know that happen with first-year students. But because she was involved in a pretty active first-year seminar class, we were able to connect her to a lot of resources. And with some coaxing, we encouraged her to go on a leadership retreat. And that was really a turning point for her. She made some folks, she gained some confidence. She really started getting involved. First student organization she got involved in was the Teachers Club, the Education Club, and really found a niche there. And then a couple of years later applied to actually be a peer mentor and went on to be a peer mentor for a couple of years. And actually her senior year was given the President's Award, which is one of our top awards that we give students. So she's a real success story, and especially because she's teaching class right now in a Wake County public school. And so I'd love to tell that story. And then also I just want to highlight Sophia. She's in my FYS class right now. Sophia has several learning disabilities and kind of came into college not very confident, but she was struggling. She was just having a hard time. She was doing all this work, but it wasn't connecting on quizzes and those type of things. And so I worked with her. I said, hey, let's get you a peer tutor. And I just didn't get her any peer tutor. I know them. So I said, you know what? You're a student athlete. This person's a student athlete. Let's see if we can't get you together, because she understands the pressures of what you're going through from the student athlete side. And it was amazing. 2 days later, she came back to me. She's like, I improved on my next quiz. I'm starting to get it. And so she's really understanding the value of using the campus resources. So fingers crossed that things will continue to be successful for Sophia.
Oh, absolutely. With the support system and you, Dawn, here, I'm sure there's no doubt. So no, that's great. And actually, speaking of which, I want to switch gears here a bit, kind of talk about the peer tutoring and that aspect here too, Deanna. If you want to maybe go ahead and introduce that a little bit, as I'm sure that the high school counselors here, there's all schools offer some type of peer tutoring or that, but I really want to talk about what makes ours a little more unique. If you don't mind maybe touching on that, Deanna.
Sure, great. I'd be happy to. Well, one thing that makes our peer tutoring program unique is it's just part of the William Peace University culture. Being a smaller school that, as we are, the peer tutors here are undergraduate peer tutors. So if you're looking at a larger school like NC State, ECU, those bigger schools, a lot of times the tutoring program is run, the tutors are graduate students, which is great. I did that myself in grad school. But having peer tutors that are undergrad to undergrad, Dawn's story is just a great example of that. They can really bond and share similar experiences because the peer tutors here are chosen and asked to be peer tutors or recommended by faculty because they've done well in the courses that they tutor in. So for example, if I have a Math 201 statistics tutor here, they have taken it here at Peace, so, and done very well in it. So they can have conversations with the students who come to be tutored and say, hey, yeah, I remember that was a really tough assignment, or yes, this professor is really good. If you go see her in her office hours, she'll talk with you. So they get that real peer-to-peer experience. And then another thing that makes our program unique, just really quickly, is we have a pretty high level of professionalization. Our peer tutors get 15+ hours of training during the course of the year in tutoring techniques, best practices, things of that nature. And this year, our program was recognized by the College Reading and Learning Association, and we received Level 1 certification, which puts us on par with larger programs like NC State and ECU, who have that same certification for their tutoring programs. Well, now we have it as well. So it gives our peer tutors an additional thing to put on their resume, something to talk about in a job interview, and we're just really proud of them for doing that great work.
No, that's amazing. And I know that was something, one of the things that I've been so impressed with too, is that, you know, we have, you get kind of the inside scoop that way, and the intimacy of that kind of, you know, tight-knit community there with that, but the resources, credibility, and the expertise, though, of a larger institution, which is great. So, well, to kind of switch back here gears with you, Dawn, don't worry, I didn't forget about you. That I'd love to talk a little more about kind of the faculty and peer mentor programs here. I guess similar to the peer tutoring, you know, this is something I'm sure that, you know, almost every school has, but ours are really unique in a couple different ways. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how that fits into the kind of the support and mentorship culture here at WPU, and just how that's unique overall.
Right. Yeah, I'll talk just a moment about the mentorship culture, because I do think that's something that Peace has done well for a long time, and we're really trying to capture that, both peer mentoring and faculty and staff mentoring. And we wanted to send the message to the first year students that we provide you some mentors. We've got some great role models for you. So we actually call our seminar instructors your first year mentor. And that's going to be a faculty or staff member who, you know, folks say, what does it take to be a first year mentor? And I'm like, first off, for me, it just needs to be a passion for first year students, because they are different than our upper class students and have different needs. So I want the folks that are most passionate about our new students coming in, and know that that might take a little extra work to kind of help them and guide them and give them the right direction. And then I just love our peer mentors. I think they're the heart and soul of our program. They actually are assigned to an FYSS section, and they stay with those students. They meet them in orientation, they work with them there, and then they stay with them. They attend class, they hear what's going on with students, they meet one-on-one with them, they hold office hours, so they're available up here in the CSS, so they're available to them to talk to them. They meet one-on-one with them or in small groups. Our first year mentors work really closely with our students on a one-on-one basis. I'm really proud that within the first 4 to 6 weeks, every first year student is going to have met with their first year mentor one-on-one to go over their college student inventory and assessment that we give them, but also just to talk about what's going on and why did you choose to come to Peace and how's your experience so far.
No, well, wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, yeah, it is truly unique in a few different ways there, with just the resources, you know, there, as you mentioned, is with a faculty and peer mentor. You know, I think it's something that kind of get the best of both worlds with that culture. And something that I think for the counselors, you know, attending today, that you'll see that theme here out of a very tight-knit community, but also a very supportive and mentorship culture too. And speaking of which, with that too as well, that extends, you know, to many different programs here, and of course athletics as well. So Deanna, going back to you here, I'd love to hear a little more about how athletics are involved in peer tutoring. And then even after that, maybe a little bit about how it expands outside the classroom at WPU as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, last year was my first year here at William Peace, and one of the things that I did, made a really strong effort to do, was to reach out to the athletic department. Here at William Peace, I'm not sure exactly of my numbers, but I know that we have quite a few. Maybe Glenn or Ashley could type it in the chat room or pop in and say what the number is, but we have quite a few student athletes. I think, Dawn, the freshman class is, do you remember that percentage of the freshman class that's student athletes?
I know campus overall, I think it's around about 40 or 43%, somewhere around that window.
Right, so upwards of 40%. So
and it's over 60% in the first year class this year.
Freshman class this year is over 60% student athletes. So I wanted to make sure that peer tutoring was connected with the athletic department. So through meeting with coaches, meeting with the athletic director, and just reaching out to coaches and saying, hey, you know, what strong academic performing student athletes do you have? I've been able to hire 7 student athletes to serve as peer tutors. We have tutors that are student athletes on men's basketball, women's basketball, men's and women's lacrosse, women's soccer, volleyball. Last year we had 2 softball players. I'm hoping to get a baseball player on staff this year. And the swim team also. In fact, I just hired the captain of the swim team as a peer tutor. So these are students that are athletes, which is awesome, but they're also doing really, really well in their academics, which is of course our top priority. So as high school counselors, I would say if you're talking with families that are, you know, have student athletes and they're looking for their student to come to a college where they would like to play athletics, but they're doing well in school academically as well, they can get a job and work with their peers and help their peers. And then the example that Dawn gave, I think some student athletes who would like to come to tutoring, when they see other student athletes who are tutors, it normalizes the process. It's like, oh, it's not bad for student athletes to reach out for academic assistance. My teammate works here. The peer tutors tutor each other too, by the way. They have study groups, and when they take classes together, they work with each other as well. So it's been really rewarding to see that partnership really flourish. And then also we just, I try to get the peer tutoring out of the library and across the campus whenever I can. So we've partnered with the Center for, why am I blanking on the CDC? Career Design Center, I'm sorry. We've partnered with the Career Design Center. I've partnered with the business and marketing department, and I've actually gone in and done some workshops for some of their classes. We work with the first year experience. So we try to take peer tutors into all 12 of the first year courses. This year we did it virtually, not in person, but last year we did it in person to show freshmen as they come in and get started here at Pease. Hey, we have this awesome tutoring program. It's free. The tutors are your peers. And so it's student to student mentorship again. And it just all ties together really nicely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I think it really does here too. And we'll go over this in a second here, Dawn, before having a few minutes for the audience to answer or to ask a few questions. But I think just something on the athletic side too, I'd like to mention as well. I think it was pretty unique this past year with the higher percentage that we had with that. But I think the more important theme is too, it being a Division III school, it's not the same, of course, if someone goes to NC State, let's say, plays basketball there, that's, their life. I know, let's say there. Now, not to say that's not a huge part of it here, but what I've seen, and I think what we'll actually have with one of our student panelists here in a little bit that you'll see that actually that started with athletics, but no longer, but did not continue with it, is that our students are a great fit here and they happen to play a sport. They're a great fit here first. It's the culture and those things here. They just also happen, to be passionate about playing a sport. They want to be part of their experience, but there's a lot more than just that as well. And I think that's one of the really unique parts of it that I've seen too as well. So, well, Dawn, kind of going back to advising and actually the CDC, the Career Design Center, like a lot of departments, they work really closely together to present some programs that help students on majors, career exploration, and those components. Can you talk about, I guess, just a little bit about that life cycle for student success and kind of how all those departments uniquely work closely together?
Sure. So advising, Career Design Center, and really just the CSS and the folks in the Career Design Center really work really closely together. Advising is also early on connected with students in the first year seminar course. Their first year seminar course instructor typically is their academic advisor. So that connection happens immediately. If they're not, they have one of the professional advisors, myself, Jennifer, or Kasha Kleingors, that work specifically with that class. So everybody in the class has the same advisor. And really advising and career design look at the whole process and kind of deciding what it is that you're going to do once you graduate here. And so it's all about deciding and exploring. I like to tell students, unfortunately, you can't sleep with the academic catalog under your pillow and all of a sudden know what you're going to major in. But there's lots of things that we can do to kind of help you. So we partner very closely together to make sure that we're in step of what we're doing. We introduce students the very beginning, even in our orientation, to the Career Design Center. So it's not just where you go to get a resume and get a job when you graduate, but it's the whole process of the career development thing, from understanding what you want to do and that connection with majors, understanding that not every job has a specific major, and that you want to focus on both what you're interested in here and then what you see yourself doing when you leave. So it's really going back to that question of why am I here, and finding your purpose and understanding what you're going to do. Then I'll go ahead and highlight the Purpose at Peace, which is a great example of the collaboration that not only advising and the Career Design Center do, but also with our student involvement. And that is a fair that we would typically have on our front lawn, where we have every major representative with a faculty member and a current student in that major. We have some of our internship partners here to talk about experiences there. We have all of our student clubs and organizations there. So it's really kind of one place that a student can go and really focus on finding their purpose to be at peace and beyond. And we're really excited about that program. This year it looked very different. We could not have a giant fair out on the front lawn like we would have liked to, but we took it digitally. In just a moment, I will put the link to the Purpose at Peace. So we put that same program online so that our students can now go to it and be able to flip back and forth. And it's one of those things that we probably wouldn't have done this had we not had to move to the virtual delivery method, but now we have this built and we can update it, so it'll live on virtually and then also be an experience that happens every fall.
Absolutely. Well, great. No, and I know it's a wonderful event. Yeah, I know here too, in many different mediums, as I'm sure all the counselors here have experienced as well too, having the fun thing to pivot over to that, right? Well, I do want to leave a few minutes here for some questions. So if we have about 5 minutes or so of any of the audience. If you have any specific questions, feel free to go ahead and write them in the chat window, and we can try to get to as many as we can here before going to our next panel in a moment. That will be featuring Immersive Learning and speaking with the Career Design Center. So we'll give it a moment over here and see if we have any questions, and if not, we can just pivot straight to the next one. And actually, while I believe a couple are typing in questions here too as well, Dawn or Deanna, I know today is actually a unique day. Just it's Pacer Day actually too as well. So maybe if you want to talk a little bit about that and kind of why that's a unique part of the culture and some of the things that are still doing here, even a little bit in person, of course, social distancing safe wise. I'm sure that the audience would love to hear a little bit about that.
Sure, I'll go ahead. Literally at 10 o'clock, we are having our inaugural 1857 Peace Games. And when we say peace in this circumstance, we're talking about unity and community and all those types of things. But we're having a competition between our 12 sections of our first year experience. And I like to say it's a combination of the amazing race meets a scavenger hunt. So we have clues, and we'll be sending students all over campus. They'll be learning about peace history, and we've got a trivia section. We've got where they've got to put the buildings in order from oldest to newest. Some of y'all may have heard of the Krispy Kreme run that NC State does. We're doing our little mini version of that today. So students will be running to Krispy Kreme and consuming a donut and running back. And so it's going to be really fun. And we're really excited to see students be able to do something in a setting that's been very virtual, very isolating, to really be able to come together as a group and do some competitive things. There's stuff for the non-athlete too. It's finding the library book from one of our famous alums, Gail Godwin. So they'll be looking that up. They'll also be putting together puzzles and things like that. So it should be a fun day. And then it's just followed by another kind of full schedule of yoga and Zumba and doing helping students get registered to vote. We're doing a kind of fun podcast with the Peace Times, our newspaper staff. So it's just a nice long list. We'll have some dessert trucks, and we'll have some music on the lawn this evening, followed by our annual traditions dinner. So
great. And actually, before we go pivot to the next panel here too, it looks like, I know Deanna, you already answered part of that question as well. It looks like that I believe Miss Glynis Hill Chandler, I believe that we had someone here ask. So I guess we had someone ask, any advice to students who have some learning differences to contact our office for student support and the best process for that?
Yeah, so I just typed it in the chat room, but just to reiterate it, I always recommend for students, whether it's learning differences, learning challenges, or whether it's just I'm nervous about being in college and I'm transitioning from high school to college, be proactive. Don't wait until 5 or 6 weeks of the semester have gone by and you're suddenly drowning. Go ahead and reach out for help right away. We open our peer tutoring services the first full week of class. So we are ready to go. They're trained before we open. So we are ready to go. We're ready to help. And then my office is always open. So I put in the chat box that during Pathways to Peace, the orientation program that Dawn mentioned, all the first year students will learn about academic support. They'll learn about disability services. They'll learn about the counseling center, the career design center, all of the major campus resources that they have access to. So if they come in knowing I already have some learning challenges, reach out to me right away. And that way we can map out a plan and make sure that they have awareness of all the help that they can get.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dawn and Deanna. We really appreciate all your stories, advice, support here. And no, this was great, and I'm sure really helpful for all the high school counselors to hear a little more about. So thank you again, and we actually will go ahead and pivot here to our next panel.
Enjoy your day.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
Of course. Bye-bye. All right. So with the next panel that we have here, I know we touched on this a little bit too with the Immersive Learning, as well as the director of, or as well as the Career Design Center. We actually have Dr. Chris Bourne, who's the director of Immersive Learning, as well as Jenna Hartwell, who's the director of Career Design. And I think everyone in the audience here, you'll go ahead and see, like a lot of the other departments here too, one of the unique things is that they work very closely together to make more of a customized experience and support for our students. So I'm really excited for them to go ahead and introduce themselves here. And I know we have a fun activity as well too. So we'll get ready for that. And before we begin, I'll go ahead and introduce Chris and Jenna. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. So
thanks. Thank you. And it's welcome everyone. I know this isn't not you visiting our absolutely beautiful campus, but we are so thrilled to have you here with our community, and welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great. Well, I know for this one panel, it's going to be work a little differently, where I know you two have a fun activity here and a couple really neat ideas. So for once, I'll actually be quiet here and let you two have the show.
So in the spirit of all of us have been doing a lot on Zoom and webinars and doing things like this, Chris and I thought it was really important that we try to make something a little interactive. So we wanted to first kind of open with something that's probably been shared with you before, but our mission statement tasks us with preparing students for careers in the organizations of tomorrow. And I think that our two offices really have taken that mission and really thought about what does that mean for how we prepare students for their futures. And so what we wanted is, again, this is a huge experiment, and so if it crashes and burns, you all are school counselors, you know, sometimes the best ideas end up interesting. Is in the chat window, just type out any word that comes to mind when you think about either the future of work, employment in the careers of tomorrow. What is careers of tomorrow? And it can be things as simple as get a job. It could be, oh, I love it, ever-changing, fabulous. It could be ever-changing. It could be, you know, flexible, remote. It could be virtual. Love it. And we're going to give you 1 minute to do this little task. And just so you know, as you're kind of thinking about it, last night, our office held our second annual Careers of Tomorrow HQ mini conference focused on the future of work. And so our team identifies 4 trends in the employment sector, and we bring experts to campus, although this time it was to campus, to have a conversation about it. So I'm really excited to see what you come up with, because we asked the same question to them. So I'm curious. And what we're going to do is we're going to take your words, and we're going to take our mission and our value statements, and we're going to smush them together, and we're going to make a word cloud, and then we're going to use that to guide our discussion today, because we wanted you to have a little agency in terms of where the direction of our conversation is going. So I'm going to give you guys a couple more seconds.
It looks like we got some really, really interesting answers in there already.
Yeah. Open-minded, love it.
Yeah.
Amy is had her coffee this morning. Just so you know, some of the panels we had last night, one was about diversity and inclusion. We see an increase in those job opportunities, but also students are asking more about how do we talk to companies about what their values are. We had a panel about freelance work, because a lot of our majors end up with a lot of students who end up in the freelance sector, and we often see an increase in those jobs. Technology driven, I love it. We had a panel on fashion after COVID-19. Is business professional wear over? So that was pretty cool, right? Like, I don't know about you all, but I looked at my heels this morning and went, no. Oh, look at this. Oh, you've got more inclusive, beautiful. Yes, the work from home outfit. I totally agree. And then the 4th panel is escaping me. Oh, micro degrees and micro credentials, because we're seeing an increase in that trend too. Okay, I'm going to take what you're having. And Chris, do you want to just chat while I kind of, oh, we've got another one, several,
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So this exercise is essentially what immersive learning is all about. So so Jenna nailed it. So with this notion of constantly being interactive and constantly being engaging with the students. And so again, even in this virtual environment, we push this notion of immersive learning. So, so just to give you a walk back a little bit. So as the director of immersive learning, our center, we opened in 2018. So it's a relatively new center. We have a physical place on campus. It's the 2nd floor of the library with a great classroom space in there. Ironically, it's designed to be collaborative and designed around collision spaces where people collaborate and work closely together. And so we've had to modify a little bit, quite a bit, this term and last term. But down the future, it'll be back to being these design collision spaces. But essentially, immersive learning, what it is, it's trying to connect, it's trying to bridge that gap between the classroom and the world. And so we can all, like years and years ago, 20 years ago, when I was in undergrad, as a philosophy major, sitting back and just talking about theory and just talking about theory and just talking about theory. And the application of it was really just kind of lost. And so really what we're trying to do now is just change the way we teach. And this is across our entire curriculum. This notion of it's connecting the classroom with the world and learning by doing. If you think about how did you learn how to ride a bike? How did you learn how to ride a car? It's like you learn by doing these things. You don't get lectured to about here's where you put your hand on the handlebars. And by the way, those are the brakes. If you ever want to stop, you have to go out and actually do it. And you have to fail and you get this feedback. It's an iterative process where you get feedback. And that's how you grow. That's how you learn. And so we use an evidence-based approach to this. And it's also across our entire curriculum. So from the moment they step on campus in Pathways to Peace, the students are being engaged in immersive learning activities. Their 1st year classes, this isn't just for seniors and their seminars. This is from our 1st year students all the way through to our majors and their capstone projects. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Jenna and go through the incredible, it looks like more like a word tree.
I'm like totally loving what y'all came up with. I first of all just wanted to make sure everyone can see. So I'm assuming because Chris can see it, y'all can see it. And I love that learning is a big source. So how a word cloud works, for those of you who haven't done one before, is what you do is you input a bunch of words, and the words that have been repeated the most are the ones that are the biggest. I actually have a resume writing activity with students where we use word clouds as a way to see what messages those students may be sending through their resumes. I can tell you more about that later. And So again, the bigger words means they come up multiple times. If you write with lowercase or caps, it will separate into two different words. So I see learning here twice. And so I love that Chris was connecting right away with that first big word we're seeing there. As the Career Design Center, we have a very similar philosophy to Chris, that we believe that this process is a process, and it starts the minute you get to campus and it continues on throughout your life. One of our panelists last night said, you graduate and you get a job, and then you get another job. And the collection of those jobs all together is what actually leads to a career, which I was so obsessed with, because I think we put a lot of pressure on students to immediately think, what are you going to do with your degree? I'm sure all of you have had turns and interesting paths and interesting stories connected to what you do. Our students will too. And so really helping them embrace what they want to solve in the world. That's one of our favorite questions to ask students is, what do you want to solve in the world? What keeps you up at night? What do you really want to accomplish in your first job that will actually scaffold you so that you have what you need for your second job? And that commitment is because we serve not only our students, but we serve our alumni for life, for free. And so we take that very, very seriously, that if we don't prepare you well, the only people who will have a bigger caseload is us. So we have to really think about that. I'm going to hit on that students word because it's in lots of places, and talk a little bit about the 3 courses in our curriculum. Our Career Center, it's very unusual. We have 3 classes in the curriculum. One is basically a self-exploration major decision-making class. It's optional because not every student needs it, but we do a lot of self-assessment. It's a 1 credit. Most students take it in their second semester, first year, when they're still deciding on their major. But we also have 2 classes that are required of all of our students before they graduate. And this is one of the areas that Chris and I overlap quite a bit. One of them is, I call it the everything you need to know to find and apply to a job class. So it's an 8-week intensive, and we focus on resume writing, we focus on interviewing skills, but we've added components because of that Careers of Tomorrow piece, like how are we future casting? How, as a professional, because I'm sure all of you have heard the jobs in 10 years don't exist yet. So how do we prep you for that? We talk about the economy. We talk about how geography impacts the economy. So we're pulling in other pieces. We also do a whole lecture on financial wellness. We're excited that this year we've partnered with Genworth Financial, who also is really interested in hiring our students. So they came in and did a financial wellness lecture with our students. PDS 490 is often taken in the junior and senior year, and I'm sure you've all seen and may have questions about. That's the class that is connected to the graduation requirement of the internship. And so all of our traditional undergraduate students enrolled in our program must complete an internship as a graduation requirement. But to Chris's point about immersive learning, and that we do this through evidence-based practice, we don't just throw them out. We have a class that runs at the same time. So we have added things like reflections. We added papers about organizational structure, about identifying your values, so that we have the conversation about career values fit. We have a conversation now, we added it last year, about you are the manager or department chair or whatever your structure is, and there's an emergency situation like a pandemic. How would you answer the call? So we're really trying to embed into both the curriculum, but also the students' overall experiences, that self-awareness and that connection to not only the jobs now, but how do I prepare myself in the future? So I like that you added students in there, because I could talk about the classes. But as we do these things, we talk to employers, and a lot of the time, the second piece is, hey, who you need to talk to is probably Dr. Bourne, because these are potentially options that we could also bring into the classroom. And I'm thinking that community word, Chris, kind of matches some of the mentoring that I know is happening through immersive learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with immersive learning, I mean, one of the important thing for us, again, as Jen was mentioned, is that we help the students develop these competencies and develop these skills from the moment they step on the campus. And so when they go into their internship, like they're ready to launch. And so what we do is we work with industry leaders to actually almost backward design some of the courses and some of the activities. So we ensure, okay, this is what people in this industry are looking for. They're looking for collaboration. It's like all these C's. They're looking for creativity, collaboration, the ability to pivot. And so that's where Jen and I work really closely together, especially talking to these employers and these industry leaders, saying, what are you looking for in your graduates? And where the internship is kind of this culminating point, but we need to start back in year one to help developing these skills. And so that's where this notion of collaboration. So we collaborate across disciplines. The great thing about being on the smaller side is that the faculty members, we all know each other. And so we work really closely together. We have our simulation and game design professor working with our music professor and coming up with like digital music for a video game. And so we have our English working with our marketing. I mean, so all of these great sort of interdisciplinary collaborations, but also we have all of these external partners, and that's really where we bridge this gap. Is our external partners are so important to us because they are the experts in the fields that they are, and so they provide real-time feedback for our students who are engaged in these projects. I mean, we've had a marketing class develop Alamo Draft House for their marketing campaign when they arrived. We've had English classes that develop actually publishing books, children's books, when they worked with an elementary school and interviewed people who lived through Jim Crow. They went to Mordecai and actually interviewed and did oral histories, and they published their book. They're out there on Amazon. Our criminal justice partners with Raleigh Police Department, and they do a staged drug bust on campus. And so these are all things we are so proud of. And what the Center for Immersive Learning does is it funds these activities, sending students to New York for an integration and economics class, going to Mexico to filming the documentary and actually filming a documentary with one of our Emmy award-winning professors. So it's those kinds of things, those partnerships that we really are proud of. The Center for Immersive Learning provides the logistics and the funding for the faculty to really come up with these incredible ideas, and then we'll make it happen because they know what the students need. And it's that kind of collaboration and that learning by doing that really makes immersive learning effective.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And actually one thing that I'd love to, before getting to a couple questions and to the audience, if you have some questions, we will have a couple minutes to pick the beautiful brains of Jenna and Chris here in a moment. So feel free to start typing those in. But before that though, actually was something one of the counselors mentioned too a little bit earlier. And then I've heard a couple times as well, just with, whether a student maybe has some learning difficulties or challenges, or just, or there's just such a large spectrum in general of some learn from hands-on better or versus visual, audio. Could you maybe talk a little bit about how just immersive learning in general, Chris, just helps widen that net, so no matter what your learning style is, it's one that should go ahead and fit, I guess, nearly any type of learner to kind of focus on things that are most helpful and kind of stick most to them?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, one of the things we're trying to do is find at the very outset, and this is through some of the first year seminar courses, is find out, how do you learn best? And so is it by constantly interacting? Is it by developing a mentoring relationship with the faculty? And so the great thing, again, by being a smaller institution is you build these relationships with faculty that are, we don't have teaching fellows, we don't have graduate students teaching our classes, we have faculty teaching our classes. And so you're working really closely, and so faculty get to learn and know the students and know how they learn the best and can recommend courses. And we have a lot of independent studies that essentially really help focus on the learning style of the individual student. And so, yeah, go ahead, Jenna.
Well, I just wanted to add a personal anecdote. I was diagnosed late in high school with 2 learning disabilities, and I tried sort of going to a large university where I honestly failed out. And I'm happy to share the story another time, but I call it, I have a whole lecture about it. It's called Your Slinky Moment. It's a whole thing. But anyway, that experience, when I decided to go back to school, a school very much like WPU accepted me, and it changed my entire life. truly, I could not have the work I do now without that experience. And it's what I think drives me to ensure the success of all of our students. But the difference was that personal connection. And I graduated with a 3.9. So it's not often about your ability, it's about making those connections and having people truly care. And I'm really glad we're talking about our size, because that does allow for personalization, but it also allows for creative problem solving or connecting students to the right person. Or, you know, I've had someone reach out to me and say, hey, we're working with a student, she has ADHD. You've been very open about your experience. Do you think you would be willing to talk to her about what helped you get through school? And so it's that kind of more personal connection. I did not take advantage of the resources available to me at the larger institution. So it's not, you know, we learn, we grow, but I will say it was a game changer for me. And it's something that, you know, we are committed to as an institution, is treating that student like an individual.
Oh, that's great, and it's so true as well. I know everyone is kind of, you know, it's hard to go ahead and put a circle in a square box, or so to speak, right? You know, with that, I'm imagining I was a little kid playing those little shapes there together, right? Trying to fit, you know, everyone's a little different with that. And I think it's about trying to harness that and give them the resources to find that. So that's great to hear. Well, I do want to give the audience a moment in case there's any questions in particular that you have right now for Chris and or Jenna. We do have a couple moments. So we'll go ahead and see if any of those questions pop up. If not, we can move to our last panel here, which will be our students here. Then, and I know we're looking forward to hearing from them shortly. Yeah, as you can see there too, as well. And actually, I guess kind of while we're doing that too, just kind of waiting there. Jenna, I know you said there's 3 classes that are part of the curriculum. Do you want to maybe just quickly talk about one of the other 2 while we're waiting to see if any of the counselors in the audience have any questions?
Well, it did cover all 3, but I'll just do a recap, but I'll also talk about the other services available from our office. So again, 200 is that self-reflection, major decision-making class. 300 is everything you need to know to apply to a job. Useful. They don't always think it's useful until they need it. Yeah. And then the third, and thank you, Marika, for the kudos. And third is the class that accompanies our internship program. Our team, in terms of what a career center often does, we do all career-related programming, but again, we partner very often with Chris for those things, so that's kind of nice because it's not like we're all alone on an island. We do a lot of the employer relations for the university, so I have calls today with employers to talk about our students, but we've made a commitment to every time an employer comes to campus, it has to be for an educational reason. We don't have information sessions. I don't know if you remember these from when you were in college, where someone brings pizza and just stands in a room and talks about working there. Nobody has fun. And I always say to our employers, we're working with college students, this should be fun, but we also want to make sure that they're leaving with something new, some new information. We do an employer in residence program every single month where we'll typically bring employers to campus to staff our drop-in hours. So you're actually getting help on your documents from someone who does it for a living. This year we've switched format to Instagram Live, and we do one-on-one appointments every single day. So we cover a lot, and that's where those partnerships are so helpful. And I'm looking to see if we have a question.
Yeah, it looks like, yeah, there's none there. I'm sorry, I forgot. I know that there was a class there, and I always kind of forget about the 1 to 2, 300 with that, because I almost just think of it as like building blocks. And I guess instead of 3 separate classes. And
exactly.
I'll use that as an excuse of why I forgot that there. But I think that's
they all smush together.
Exactly, and I think that's kind of the important thing is that we just don't, you're not being thrown into the fire, so to speak. You know, really kind of being groomed to go ahead and really be able to take advantage of that opportunity when it does arrive, and be prepared for it too, no matter where that may be. So
right.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, thank you so much again, Chris and Jenna. I know it was amazing having you both here, and hope you have a wonderful Pacer Day. And we'll see you around campus soon too. And thanks again.
And if anyone has any questions after, please do not hesitate to shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer. And thank you for having us.
And we're always looking for new partnerships. And so if you have ideas, ways to partner with us, you know, we can get you into courses, meet with our professors, and we're always looking for new ways to partner to benefit our students.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and with the permission of you two, we'll be happy to go ahead and share the information in your emails when we go ahead and reach out to the counselors afterwards with a follow-up. So they can reach out to you all for that.
Great.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Have a nice day, everybody. Bye.
Yeah, we'll take care. Bye. And then with the next panel that we will have here, as I mentioned a little earlier, will be with 3 of our esteemed students that we're very excited to have here as well. Now, of course, there's a little more than 3 here, but just to show everyone a little bit of the campus here too, because I know that we're all virtual here for those who haven't seen it. It's a beautiful campus, and actually that fountain right there is one of our, really one of the pillars of it, and where, as a tradition, they circle around for graduation, throw the hats, flowers, all that great stuff. And speaking of which, it looks like we are going to have a couple here that are about to join us that will be doing that relatively soon. So we'll go ahead and speak with Brett, Mckenzie, and Stephanie. If each one of you, and hi, hope you're all doing well, Brett, Mckenzie, and Stephanie. But first, before going into questions, if each of you want to quickly introduce yourself, your major, and maybe just a couple student organizations that you're involved in, and then we will start with the questions. Let's go ahead and do that. And why don't we start in the order of Stephanie, Mckenzie, and then Brett.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Romero Reyes. I'm a criminal justice major. I graduated in 2021, so I'm a senior this year. And some of the stuff that I'm involved in, I'm a peer mentor, as well. I was an orientation leader over the summer and as an admissions ambassador as well. And yeah, that's me.
All right, thank you so much.
Hey everybody, my name is Mckenzie Allison. I'm a senior here at William Peace University studying psychology. I'm graduating early here in December, so that's very exciting for me as well. Here on campus, I serve as an admissions ambassador. I've worked as a peer tutor. I've also worked in our school's wellness center as an intern there and helped them market tools there. That's a little bit about me.
All right, thank you so much, Mckenzie. And then last but not least, Brett, if you want to say a couple words here. Brett, I think that may have a little audio difficulty there. Can you hear us okay? Or so we're not able to hear you there.
How about now?
There we go. Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hello, my name is Brett McIntyre. I am a junior year here at Peace, class of 2022. I'm a residential assistant, a peer tutor, and an admissions ambassador. And I'm a double major in political science and American history.
All right, got the trifecta right there for the involvement, and thank you all 3 for joining us here. So, well, first I'll start off with a question for you, Mckenzie. I know since you're graduating here soon, and we will miss you greatly, but are very excited for the opportunities and stuff you have. I know you have had a pretty unique experience, it sounds like, with your internship in a couple different ways. So I was hoping you could maybe just walk us through a little bit about what that experience was like and how that led to your job offer at LabCorp.
Sure, of course. I will say first and foremost, everybody's internship experience at Peace is very unique. And I will say for me personally, the classes that the Career Design Center offers is essential to me getting the opportunity that I got. So in that class, we talk about things like how to interview, how to build your resume, how to build your LinkedIn and build connections and network yourself. And after that class, that following summer, I took that and I was able to leverage myself a position over at LabCorp Covance where I was training on a national level how to use video conferencing tools. And based on what I learned in that class, I was able to meet the right people at the right time and network myself into getting the position that I wanted as an in-house clinical research associate. So this past summer, I was an intern with them again. And I used that opportunity again where, at the end of the internship, they had us again do a mock interview. And using the experience that I had from practicing it here at Peace, that made me well prepared. I felt very comfortable, and they told me I had one of the best interviews that they had done. So that made me feel really good. And then I was shortly after that offered an opportunity to work there come January 2021. So I will say at Peace, you're given a great opportunity with the materials that you're taught by the Career Design Center. And another awesome thing about it too is even after I graduate from Peace, is I'm going to have access to the tools that they provide here at the Career Design Center. And if I ever decide that I want to move up, or if I want to move into a different type of position, I'm probably going to be staying with LabCorp Covance. It's an amazing company, and I can't speak highly enough of the connections that Peace allows you to build. So that's been my experience with the internship, and I'm very blessed for the experience that I've had.
Oh, well said. I think, yeah, just by that answer alone, we can see why you probably do a pretty darn good interview. I can see as well, so thank you. And I know this is something that I've heard from a lot of the students as well too, just kind of having, as Dr. Ralph mentioned, a 90,000 square foot campus with, Raleigh being an extension of the backyard with a lot of those opportunities, especially in the triangle, and those I know is really helpful too. So that's great to hear. So, well, Stephanie, I'd like to pivot over to you here for a second. I know you're involved in several different student organizations, and I'd love to hear, and I'm sure the audience too, a little more about kind of your involvement in them and how that's helped you just grow as a leader on your time here at Peace.
So I first started school, I started in the spring, and I didn't know anybody, I wasn't involved. And then one of my work study bosses, she actually recommended me for some of the positions and student leadership positions on campus. And she pushed me and challenged me to go out and get in these and join these organizations and better myself and better my education. And I think it's really helped me grow as a leader because I've been able to communicate with people more efficiently. I've been able to, it also helps me with my grades because it keeps me on top of my grades and making sure that I'm staying in these student leadership positions that I have. And it helps me connect with other students as well. Being a peer mentor, I get to help the first year students, and it really it helps me knowing that I made an impact in someone's life and I'm helping guide them. And as an orientation leader, we're the first people besides the mission ambassadors that they see. And so we get them excited to come to school and we push them and we tell them to get involved. And so that's one of the biggest things is knowing that I'm helping someone.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, no, and I've definitely heard from many folks who I won't mention names that you made a really big impact with that, and that's really awesome to hear. So, Brett, don't worry, we didn't forget about you. And of course, we're having two most important topics we're about to discuss right now. So I hope you're ready. They are food and where you're going to live. That's what everyone cares about, right? Of course, in addition to education, the experience that. But as an RA, I know obviously you can probably talk a little bit about what that experience has been like, but also too, kind of on a little more lighthearted note, what are some of maybe like your favorite foods on campus, places to go off campus, and just overall what your experience has been like as an RA too, if you don't mind talking about that. I think that'd be really helpful to hear.
Of course, that'd be great. My favorite food here on campus has to be our Peace Perk concept. It's the Starbucks we have here on campus. I literally go there every day. I get a vanilla iced coffee. I come in, I see Miss Gina. She's like, "Hey, baby, what's going on?" And they just take my card and swipe me, and I get my little drink. That goes back to like how we're all like this awesome community. And then going off campus, there's this sushi place. It's called Rock and Roll Sushi, a big sushi guy. And I go with a lot of friends, and we get sushi. It's like an all-you-can-eat. You pay like $15, and you sit there and you just fill yourself with rice. It's great. I'd also like to mention there's $5 burger night at the station every Monday, and it's awesome too. That's right from Peace. You can walk to it.
Hashtag winning, right? That's yeah. Well, what about as an RA too as well? Can you talk maybe a little bit about how you got involved to be an RA and just what overall it's been like with your experience living on a campus?
Yeah, so I got involved early, actually. I got involved really early. Like one of the first few weeks I went to the Res Life office right across from my resident hall to get involved with trying to become an RA. I had really nice RAs. They're always very friendly and they help connect you. I help connect students all the time to other facilities and programs on campus and job opportunities and all things like that, from tutoring to advising to anything. You kind of have to be this pseudo expert about campus and how it works. And I got really involved really early my freshman year with my RAs and connecting and making those connections, as we talked about all panel, to do that. And as an RA now, I feel like it's definitely my job to keep doing so and continue to do so to help the student body. I primarily work with freshmen, so I think it's super important for me to be an RA for first years and to help them make those connections and get involved with campus.
Absolutely. Or I should say, like Miss Gina, right, to make sure that they know who can go ahead and hook that up. I know, and she's great. So, well, thank you so much, Brett, for that. And actually, Mckenzie, kind of shifting gears to you here for a moment. I know something that you and I talked about a little bit the other day is kind of how WPU in general helps students who maybe don't have the most clear idea of what their major is going to be or their passion with different careers and classes. I know you touched on it a little bit, but maybe expanding upon that, can you just talk about how maybe you've seen kind of firsthand just the kind of environment here has helped those discover maybe a passion that they didn't realize that they initially had or just weren't aware of?
Of course. So one thing I'll start off by saying is, as an admissions ambassador, when I go on a tour, one of my favorite questions to ask is, what do you want to do with yourself? I love to hear how prospective students are going to respond to that question, because I can see myself back in that position and trying to cultivate that I have a response and I know exactly what I'm going to be doing 20 plus years from now. And you don't. You have no idea what you're going to be doing. You have no idea what you really want to be doing. And I always take that opportunity as an ambassador to kind of, impose on them, this is your opportunity to learn. Like, whatever you're saying right now, that's great, but it could definitely change. And you need to be open to that change. Coming into college with an open mind and an open attitude is going to allow you to excel. And what I really and truly love about Peace is that there's this exploratory culture here where you're allowed to kind of just figure out what it is that you want to do. What do you have a passion for? So I know I personally came in, I was really interested in biology. I wanted to study genetically modified organisms. And then I learned, oh, I'm going to have to take things like organic chemistry that I don't know about. And I don't know that I'm really interested in, but I'm not shooting down anybody who is particularly interested in those fields of work, but it just definitely was not for me. And so I was able to utilize Peace's critical thinking courses. We're required to take at least 5 in your time here at Peace to kind of explore different areas of interest you may have within different majors. And that's where I fell across psychology, and I fell in love with every aspect of it, especially the research portion. So now that's why I'm a senior here at Peace studying psychology with a concentration in research. And I'm going to be graduating from here going into a field of research. So I can't speak highly enough of that opportunity to explore and figure out where your best fit is and where your passion lies. And again, just going back to the, your connections to Peace, even after you leave here, it's again, an exploratory culture, even after you leave Peace, it's always trying to find your best fit, always trying to continue your passion and continue your learning. So that's why I would say, Peace is a great fit for all types of students, all walks of life, because it allows you to truly figure out, what your best fit is.
Absolutely. No, that's very well said. And actually, just as a quick reminder here too, I believe at least one or two, or maybe if we're lucky enough, 3 of the ambassadors will be able to stay here for a little bit after we end here in about 15 minutes or so. So if there are more kind of questions, Q&A specifically for that, we will have that here in a little bit. But while we do actually, it looks like have a few minutes here still till until we go ahead and discuss a little more about the admissions process, some other upcoming events and resources for the high school counselors. If anyone wants to, if any of the counselors here want to, feel free to chat in the chat box there. Any questions you have for Stephanie, Brett, or Mckenzie, we do have a couple minutes right now, and they'd be happy to go ahead, I'm sure, and answer that. So we'll give you a moment to do that. But actually, while that's going on too, Stephanie, I'd just be curious to hear, and I think it's just always interesting to hear a little bit about the story of how you decided to come here. So while we're waiting for a couple potential questions, I hate to put you on the spot, but I know you can handle it. With that. So do you want to maybe just share a little bit about why, why you decided to go to WPU?
So originally, I took a semester off because I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. My hopes was to go to school in New York. And the school that I actually looked at looked very similar to this school. It was just a little bit bigger. And I fell in love with the aesthetic of the school. Just the way it looked, the feel that it gave me. I went to an open house, and I really liked how they had set up the open house and how they were very attentive and made sure that I was getting helped. And it was like a last minute sign up, and they still signed me up and they still let me join the open house. So that was definitely something that I really liked. And then in that first semester, I realized that the school really does place an emphasis on the student and making sure that we're all successful. They push us, they challenge us, and they want us to be involved. And I was actually, I'm a part of the honors program, and with the honors program, they allow us to have immersive learning. They allow us to express ourselves and have an open mind. And if there's something that we're interested in, they want us to push, they want us to go for that and challenge ourselves too. And so it's definitely, this school really shapes you as a person. And I would say, looking back, me like 5 years ago compared to now, I'm definitely a totally different person. And so it's pushing ourselves and also pushing ourselves to look for discomfort and to seek it and to challenge.
No, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned the honors program too. I know Heidi heads that, does a wonderful job. I personally had the pleasure of sitting on that committee, and there's just a lot of amazing students here that are part of that, and it's really it's a unique aspect as well. I just said to kind of help push our students to go ahead and be their best selves, with that as well too, and kind of balance everything as well. So we'll just kind of, for the sake of time here, we will go ahead. It looks like and the panel, there's no initial questions here right now, but Brett, Stephanie, and Mckenzie, thank you so much. You three have been wonderful. And if one of your, and for all the high school counselors out there too, we'll mention this in a second, but if one of, when I'm sure you will go ahead and recommend many of your students to take a virtual or in-person tour here, these are 3 of the 19 beautiful faces we have that we'll be giving those. So they all do an amazing job, and we're so grateful for them. And it's just the best part, just seeing growth, development, and everything that you become. So thank you so much. So we'll go ahead and shift gears here now to a couple things with on the admissions side and for a couple upcoming events. So we'll go ahead and I'll share my screen here in a moment for that. And on that note, actually as well too, as I mentioned earlier, we have had a couple changes here on the admissions side with some of the requirements, and actually now being specifically an exclusive test optional and holistic and inclusive approach that we have here, which is really exciting. And right here, if one of the counselors, admissions counselors here, can maybe go ahead and put this in the chat. I did hyperlink this. It's just admissions.peace.edu/apply. That's where students can go ahead and start their applications. And the great thing here, as we were talking about, with everyone having different learning approaches and and some challenges and some just better ways where some may test better than others, we have it the same here too, where if they want to go ahead and submit an ACT or SAT score, great. If they don't, that's okay too. There's a lot of different ways to go ahead and showcase their strengths and have our counselors go ahead, our admissions counselors go ahead and help them with their application files for that. And we are accepting students now for our spring and fall terms here coming up. And I know any students that you have that be interested or have any questions with that, please go ahead and let us know. We'll be happy to help. Here now with a couple upcoming events that we do have here. With the first is the Peace Preview on October 14th. That is essentially like our open house that we have. So with our open house here, they will go ahead and have in a similar format today, but a little more kind of student-centered on some great aspects of William Peace University. Just give them an introduction about what it's like here to be a student. And then also we'll go ahead and we have a couple other great events coming up with some different academic sessions on different majors and a couple other components with different in-person and virtual tours, all of which you can find on the high school counselors page, which I did hyperlink in the chat. There's some great resources there that you can share with your students. And of course, including free application week, which we all know is coming up here. And of course, we are a part of that and really excited to be a part of that this year as well too. So definitely make sure that you let all your students know that we are part of that here. And as I mentioned earlier, we will go ahead and have the specific admissions counselor that works with your territory reach out to you afterwards just with a quick follow-up email and their contact information so you can have any students reach out directly to them. But also we are still doing in-person tours, just to let you know. They are still, of course, with social distance and safety guidelines, and they're not group tours where we do limit it typically to 4 at a time. But we do still want to have the chance to show them on campus here, but also virtual tours for those that may not feel as comfortable with that as well. So I will go ahead and pause here for a second. Here are the emails for all of our counselors, as well as Ashley here. And as I mentioned, they'll reach out to you afterwards too. I will also go ahead and show and send to everyone here a recording that we will have of this today. So you'll have this information there too, and can always go ahead and go back to this as well. And now, since we are going to go ahead and we do have a few minutes here for anyone that has some specific questions, students that we had as part of our panel, we want to give you the opportunity to go ahead and ask away of really anything about the campus, student life, anything we can help. But before that, I just want to say thank you so much again. It was a pleasure having all you here. I know the hard work that you're doing now, and especially during this unprecedented time. You know, it's a situation that is unlike obviously anything that we've seen, but if anything, I know that a lot of students need your help and support now more, and I'm sure hopefully appreciate that. And I know we certainly do. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and we'll stay on here for another like 10 to 15 minutes for anyone that has any questions. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day, stay safe, and go Pacers.